Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for a few minutes of fun. I make no apology for being berry obsessed at the moment. The birds are still foraging the last of the berries off the trees before fresh growth comes. And yeah, my berry stamps released in February with PaperArtsy continue to draw my attention at the moment. So this is a variation on the distressing stamping that we did the other day, and leads you to perhaps an altogether wilder kind of look that I really love with these berry stamps. Something quite exciting and out of one's control, and that's the thing I like about this technique, is you just have to yield to what happens, and that can be very freeing and a really exciting journey to go on. So we're mostly going to be using this berry sprig, but there are some ephemera and textures from this set that I might also want to be using. And the difference is that for this one of the ingredients is the PaperArtsy Infusions powders. So you can use any pigment powder you've got. There's lots of these on the market. It's literally just a little bottle. Sometimes they come in little jars of coloured powders. The PaperArtsy ones all have quite a grungy look to them, because as well as the various colours, so something like Sunset Beach has got oranges and yellows in, but will also have some granules of walnut powder, so that you always get a slightly grungy look. Some of these I made while I was demoing in Frankfurt at the Creative World International Trade Fair, and so one of these colours I don't actually have here and I must get hold of. I think is it blackcurrant? It's called blackcurrant. But there are a couple of infusions colours that I don't have because I never used to work in reds and pinks, and now I find myself slightly obsessed with them. So one of the keys for me to this is giving yourself one at the centre of things that holds its shape. And there's something about that that allows the wildness of everything else that's going on to be read by the eye. If it gets really, really wild and there's nothing holding at the centre, then it can get a bit much. But yeah, you can see I've added some of my brickwork stencil. There's little bits of ephemera stamping. So we're just going to have a really quick look at how I've been doing that. I need some more postcards. Seriously, I've set off without the postcards in reach. You can use watercolour paper for this, absolutely. I've got PaperArtsy Smoothy card. I say I've got it. I'm going to have to go and get it. And be warned, as you can see from the piles and piles of these berry postcards that I've got, this process is another addictive one. Once you start, you really just want to carry on. One of the keys with pigment powders is not to take the lid off. If I take the lid off and start trying to tap out powder, I'm going to end up with a whole bottle full of powder on my table. What I like to do is make a little hole in the actual lid. Lots of people, when these come, they come with a little sort of spongy pad in the top. So lots of people make a hole in the pad and kind of stuff the pad back into here so that it holds, and then you can apply through the pad and they'll leave the lid whole. For me, that's taking lids on and off is too time consuming. So what I tend to do is I make the hole in the lid itself, and then you can use just a little push pin, drawing pin I would call it in the UK, to seal up that hole when you've got them in storage. And then I just take all those off in one go when I'm actually working, so that I've got access to the powders inside without having to take lids on and off all the time. So I'm sort of experimenting again with colours here, because as I say, I haven't got all the colours that I had on the table before. There's definitely going to be some rusty car involved because I'm feeling rusty. We might again do a balance of the sort of blue-grey versions and the rusty red versions and see what we get. So the key is to start with, as I say, a stamping that will hold. And you can do that with distress inks and it will hold to a certain degree. Or you can do it with archival inks and that really, really will hold. Let's start with a neutral. So I'm going to put Pebble Beach on here, which is the sort of mid-grey. But in order that it's not just boringly just Pebble Beach, I might hit it with a little bit of Beach Cruiser in places. So I'm just mixing that up a little bit. And I might even put on some distress ink, which is going to move a little bit in the long run. I'm going to give that a gentle spritz of water, because with the distress ink on there, that will shift. And I'm going to start with one of those just as a soft one there. And I could even go for a secondary somewhere in there. Same process we were doing the other day. Now, to get some of these infusions into the mix, what I'm going to do is put, oh, that's already too much powder. So this is the slate blue. This has got versions of blue and grey and, as I said, the walnut stain in there. So I just spritz it with a little bit of water, and then I'm going to use that as my stamping platform. And you can see it's quite messy. You can see on there it's quite messy. And that's pretty much what I'm after. This is going to be a really full-on messy one, and that's fine. I love the drama of that. And then I'm just going to do a couple of repeat stampings, even over the top of this beautifully safe one, as it were. I've gone into the corner there. And I'm going to set that aside to dry. And at the moment, it might look like a hot mess, and you might be thinking, what have you done? But I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to let that dry, and I think I'm going to like it quite a lot. If you really, really feel it's too dark and you can't cope, you could absolutely hit it with a bit of paper towel. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this off. So slate blue, depending on the pigment powders you get out in any given moment, could give you variations that are kind of bluish, or might give you this very full-on grey. I seem to have quite a grey bunch of powders out at the moment. But you can soften that, as you just saw, with a bit of water. Let's put one of those through there. And that's a really wild, soft one. So now what I want to do is get onto my card one that is a bit more sane, as it were, a little bit less crazy. So I'm putting some distress ink onto there. That's the Stormy Sky. This is going to be a little bit of pumice stone through the middle, and I might hit it with a bit of vintage photo. I'm going to kind of angle it as we were doing the other day, so that mostly goes up the middle. As you can see, I'm getting water and infusions everywhere. That's fine. I'm going to give this a little spritz of water again and bring that up through the center. So that's my one that's going to hold until I give it some spritzes of water. And then around that, I'm creating this lovely softness. And part of me wants to make that one a bit messier. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this that's on there and add a little touch of that to those berries, so that those shadows, look at that spread. Because that stamping was watery, that little bit of ink is just spreading into there, and it's going to tie it in with what's going on around the outside. Again, trust the process. Set it to one side to dry, and maybe we'll go for something a little bit rustier and maybe pinker. Because as I say, I haven't got the black currant, but what I have got is this one that calls itself Are You Cerise? I think that's a play on Are You Serious? And I'm gonna, rather than just one colour of infusions for this one, I'm gonna go with a couple just to mix that up a little bit. So a couple more pieces of card on the ready. I'm gonna go again with maybe some pumice stone through the middle to hold. No, not pumice stone, wrong. Pebble Beach. The Archival is Pebble Beach. It's the equivalent of distress in pumice stone. I'm taking an angle on that vintage photo to go up the middle, and I might put a little bit of vintage photo around on those berries as well, I think. Again, I'm going to go with a little spritz of water, because there is some distress ink on there, and make that my berry that holds in the center. That's nice. Might straight away go for another of those as a secondary stamping over here. Different angle, different look, nice and soft already. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of rusty car. I'm going to try and get less powder this time, because it was a bit bonkers last time. As well as a bit of Are You Cerise? Serious? Doesn't want to come out. Come on, you pink. So this will have granules of pink, granules of orange. So this is because the little spongy bit is still in there. And although I've put a hole through the spongy bit, it doesn't really allow the powders to emerge. So I'm going to let these just mix and match on the mat as they want to. I'm not in charge of this. Oh, but look at the vivid colour of that. Right, so running my stamp through to pick up some of that powdery colour and I'm just going to take the risk. I'm just going to get it onto the page. Oh, yeah. The rusty colours, again, it's just about that zingy teeth. You can feel it. When it's working, you can feel that zing just hit you. I'm going to put a little bit through the bottom there. And let's get one coming up. Maybe shift the angle that way. That's glorious. So that's mostly rusty car, I would say. There's not that much cerise going on through there. Let's get a little bit on here. So that's now on a sort of secondary stamping. So from that video the other day, if you didn't watch it, I will link the distress stamping video down below. Oh, look at that, just dripping off. That's how wet and mushy that is. But I love what that gives me. So again, what I might do is pick up some, so I can see where there are darker bits on here. And I'm just going to drop some of that into these places where this main sprig is still a little bit wet. And it's allowing that colour to travel just up the stem. There's a magical autumnal beauty to that. Or those sort of last minutes of winter. We've had snow here again. But as the snow melts, the landscape sort of reverts to this, I don't know, the green of the grass becomes quite yellow. The brown of the trees becomes quite sort of soft and orangey. So again, this time I'm going to come in, not going to worry about contamination. Just going to put my archival link over the top of that. If you do feel like you've got something on the surface of your pad, just run some kitchen paper across the top of the pad. This one I might go straight in already because I know that that's holding. I've got my archival ink in there. I know that's going to hold at the centre of whatever I do now, but I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the wild colour as well and then come in. So I've got holding and softness in that one. I've got them both going on at the same time, which I think can be quite exciting. What I might do is put a little touch of Violet Storms into here now, which has got purples and blues and again greys, but just has, oh look, that's going to be incredible. The colour that's building there on the mat, just in a kind of crazy way, gorgeous. And again, I'm going to come in with some secondary stampings. Let's just wipe up that bit. Straight onto another piece of card here. So a secondary stamping will be paler, so that goes into the background. If I come into the foreground with a strong one, oof, the colour of this now has got just such drama to it, and I love it. I love it. I'm going to take the soft one up there, and then again just come in with my Pebble Beach. Again, that's going over the top of darker colours. I'm just going to wipe off the surface of the mat, of the pad, and it will be fine. I'm going to add a little bit of colour to that one so that it can come through. But as you can see, the archival holds, and then you get the other bits that just do this magical craziness. I might go so far as to do a little bit of spatting with, I mean, look at the colour of this now. The wine dark look of that is just incredible, and that's really making me quite happy. Grand. I'll do a little bit of a clean-up, and we'll come back and add in a little bit of detail stamping, maybe some words. This I'm definitely going to do a mop-up with, because I want that multicoloured ink on some card. Let's have a look. So as you can see, as I said, you just yield to the Infusions powders. They take charge, and all you have to do is sit and enjoy the ride. A little bit of mopping up before I wipe up, and then, as I say, we'll come back and do a little bit of detail stamping. Of course, you can do this with any stamps. Grassy stamps, this would work beautifully with. Florals, I can imagine some florals. You need, I mean, it's quite good to have a fairly solid image, mucky fingers, so that there's room for the inks to take hold. I'm looking at a couple of these and thinking I'd like something a bit more, I suppose, formal, definite, as in holding through the middle here. So I'm going to use maybe a little bit of pumice stone. I don't know that I want it completely, you know, beautifully pristine as a stamping. So I'm going to add a good spritz of water to it. But I just want something a little bit more definite coming through the middle of there. Oh, look at that, full on. This one I'm quite happy. This one I'm quite happy. This one, yeah, is just abundance now, which I love. So in terms of detail stamping, I really like adding a touch of formality amidst all this wildness. So quite nice can be some text. And we've got this lovely vintage music advertisement here. So you can do this on a stamping grid, or you could just peel it on and off. I think I'm going to keep it quite subtle because I want it in the background. Might use, rather than the Pebble Beach again, I might go for something like this grey. This is watering can. I'm going to put a bit of that there and another one. Just layering it. So this is not about reading the advertisement. This is about adding a little bit of additional detailing. I think we'll put a bit through here, another little bit through there. I just love that against the wildness of the berries. Maybe this third one. I'm just wondering on these sort of reddish ones whether I want to create something slightly contrasting. And I might stamp this same stamp in something like Beach Cruiser, because I think that's going to be quite interesting as a contrast. This is plain. This is not what I did before. Oh yes, I love that. That is really exciting to me, to have that contrasting colour in with all that rustiness. I might put some here as well because I do like it. Let's do that, and maybe a little bit further up on this side. I quite like the idea of that. Yeah, that's good. These two I'm keeping free of that at the moment because I might want to do something different. Got this lovely Henrik Ibsen book frontispiece, which is quite nice. Again, it's a formal square shape. Oh, actually, yeah, we used it in the distress stamping video. And I just think that's going to be quite interesting as a contrast to the wild berries as well. So let's have you just a partial stamping, which, as you know, I'm quite fond of, in contrast to all that wild organic messiness. That's quite pleasing. Got this lovely guarantee label, so maybe that goes in a couple of places. I think I'm quite enjoying the watering can, but I might for this one go with maybe the vintage photo, actually, because I've got vintage photo coming through here in quite a nice way. I quite like that idea of the brown, the autumnal brown, and I quite like the idea of something in that space. That's good. A little bit up there, but preserving the wildness, particularly of this one. I'm really enjoying the sort of the abundance. Might do a secondary stamping of this up here, so it's getting quite pale, maybe over here. But you can see again how that formal stamping kind of brings focus again to the wildness of those berries. These are the two mop-ups from that multicoloured ink that was left on there, Infusions ink. I could absolutely add some words to these, some more spatter. I quite like the idea of maybe a little scribbly outline on a couple of them. Again, I'm looking to see what my brain is interested in. I think my brain is quite interested in maybe a couple of words here. Let's go simplicity. Hedgerow. Let's go hedgerow. Can't believe I've waited this long to have hedgerow as a word. within my stamp sets. I think there's some Stormy sky going on here, and I think I might quite like that in a sort of off blue grey. So I've got Stormy sky over all of it. I'm going to angle this to hit the bottom of it with the watering can grey, and let's just pop that word in there. Hedgerow. Nice. Definitely tempted to have that somewhere else as well, but let's restrain ourselves for now. What else have we got words wise? Oh, all is peace here. I think I'd like that somewhere, maybe in something a bit more present. So maybe the grey with a touch of the vintage photo, and I think it's just going to fit in here. That's nice. Look at that, all sort of surrounded by berries. Nice. What else have we got? Dusk. Quite like dusk as an idea. And if that's on this one, what colour do we want it in? Maybe Pebble Beach. Don't want something that's going to take the eye too much. I just want that word there as a fairly subtle presence. But it's the drama of the berries that I really want. Did I start to say, obviously you could do this in any colours. I can imagine this in soft blues and greens. That's nice. Dusk. There's something about a soothing silence somewhere, isn't there? Yeah. Oh yes, I talked about other stamps, but I didn't get around to talking about other colours. If the drama of this is altogether too much for you, it's a wintry drama, by all means, take soft blues and turquoises. Give yourself gentle greens and blues. Give yourself sunshine, orange and yellow. What else have we got? Tangled branches. There we go. And I think again, I might want to put that in the Pebble Beach. Keep it kind of soft and subtle. Will it fit across here? I have to go at the top. I think it'll get a bit lost if I put it down there. Let's see. Oh, there's room for it there, look. Am I the right way up? Tangled branches of the circling wood. I feel like it needs a word just below it. Hedgerow, beauty. That's my other option on here. Dusk. It's gone missing. Oh, I've put it back on the wrong one. Tangled branches of the circling wood at dusk. I think that's quite a nice thought, isn't it? And we've got soothing silence at dusk there. Let's pop that in there. Nice. I think we could handle a little bit more of the blue stamping, couldn't we? This beach cruiser. Quite tempted to get a bit of that involved in a word here. Just have to get the right word. Maybe I want simplicity. Or maybe I go hedgerow again. I do want hedgerow again. I'm going to yield to my desire to have hedgerow again. Sorry, off camera as I put that on the... Just applying it to the grid. A little bit of beach cruiser right in this central point here. Hedgerow. Grand. And this one, I sort of, at the moment, I don't want to put words on here because I'm thinking that might be part of something else altogether. A page in a journal. This one I can see a doodled border around. I can feel it hovering. So let's just take one of my usual scribbly little, pretending to be bad sewing. If sewing machines would cooperate with me, I would do this as a little stitched border, but sewing machines break when I sit down at them. So for now, it will continue to be pen work. Little scribble as though it's got tangled. I think I want that somewhere else as well. Maybe this one. Yeah, up here. Little scribbled border. wobbly as you like. If you're somebody that likes straight borders, somebody who was doing this on the demo desk, used a card to get herself a nice straight border. Definitely a straight border person. I'm not necessarily a straight border person, but if you want to use a ruler, by all means use a ruler. If that's what's going to make you happy, do the thing that's going to make you happy. That's the point of this, is to give ourselves that little moment of respite, of creative flow, of release and relief from a world that is determined to trouble us. How's that? Grand. I will, of course, as always, dive in for a close-up. Now that I can see those on there, I want them everywhere, so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to put some borders around those as well. Yeah, I might as well while I'm talking. So if you have enjoyed this video, do give me a thumbs up. I will put a list of the ingredients used today in the description down below. I'm going to pretend this Henrik Ibsen is in the foreground, so my border is going to go behind it. I am always happy to hear from you in the comments. Do leave comments, questions down below, thoughts. I hope you're enjoying these wild berries as much as I am. There's something about celebrating the arrival of spring, the departure of winter, with fruitfulness, the last of the fruitfulness hanging on the boughs for the birds. There we go. I do want one around here as well. But no, I'm going to resist, because I do think I might want to do something else with that one. Thank you so much for your company. Leave me a thumbs up. Hype the video if you can find out where to hype the video. I think it helps. I hear it helps. Thank you, as always, for your company on this creative journey. It's a joy interacting with you, and happy crafting all.